So today we're going to learn our third way to solve quadratics, which is a method called completing the square. Completing the square is nice for one reason. You can use it on literally any quadratic you want, any of them. So remember, like factoring, not everything will factor, so you couldn't always use it. Solving by square rooting, you can only use it when b is 0. Solving by completing the square can be used on any quadratic. I know you're thinking, well then, Miss Sabia, why would we not just learn this way? And why would we bother with the others? I'll tell you why. It's a nightmare to use if you don't have certain criteria. You can do it, it just makes your life a lot harder. So it can be used on any quadratic, but it is easy to use when A is 1 and B is even. If you have those two scenarios, solving by completing the square is an excellent first choice. If you can't solve by square rooting or solve by factoring, because those are still going to be easier. Usually because you're just better at it and it's faster. But if I can't factor and I can't solve by square rooting, if I have A being 1 and B is even, solving by completing the square will actually be relatively easy once I understand the steps. So let's give ourselves an example of a time when we might use this. And I'm going to make one up because, well, no, I don't have to make one up. Okay, let's try. All right, let's try this one. Oh no, I don't want that one. All right, I'm going to make it up. What the hey? Say I had x squared plus, oh, let's do, sorry, how about 12x, and then maybe minus I hear someone saying 2. Let me just, give me 1 second. Let me make sure that this comes out the way I want it to. I don't want to start with one that's too easy. All right, this will work. All right, so here's my quadratic. Can I solve this one by square rooting? No. Can you solve by factoring? Are there factors of 2 that add up to be 12? No. So here's an example of a good time to use completing the square. I can't use my previous two methods, so let's go through this. So the first thing that you want to do is you actually want to take whatever C is and move it to the other side if it's not already there. Oftentimes that's already done for you, but if it's not, I'm just going to add 2 to the other side. So let's see, where will I fit this? I'll do it over here. So how to. Step 1, move C to the other side. Now watch how I do this though. When I add 2 to the other side, I'm going to leave a space here. I'm going to leave that, oops, I forgot my X. I'm going to leave that spot open. You'll see why in a minute. Your second step I'm going to put this in just so that you don't have to rewrite the directions when it gets hard. So we don't have to do this step right now. But if A is not 1 you're going to have to divide every term by whatever a is. So we have to force a to be 1 if it's not. So I'll just put a little star here. If a is not 1, if a is not 1, divide every term by a to make it 1. So we'll do some examples of that probably on Monday. Or maybe today where it ends up being nice. But if a is not 1, before you continue, you have to make it be 1. All right, lucky for us, we don't have to worry about that. So the next thing we're going to do, and this is where things get a little weird, but you'll see how it all works out in a minute. The next thing that you need to do is you need to take half of whatever b is and square it. That gets you like this special new number. So what would half of b squared be? Right, 36. That's my new special number. Half of b squared. So you're going to take 1/2 of b and square it. Then add that number to both sides. I'll give you a second to jot that down, and we'll do it in our example. Actually, I'm just going to bring my example down here. So let me rewrite what we've written already. We had x squared plus 12x minus 2 equals 0. So first we move c to the other side. Left a space. And now we're here. Okay. Now we can see the directions and the example at the same time. So, you guys just told me that this new special number is going to be 36, right? Half of b and you square it. Now, conveniently, it doesn't matter if b is positive or negative, because when I take half of a number and then I square it, whether that number is positive or negative, isn't it always going to be positive once I square it? So, when you go to do this step, you're always adding this number to both sides, no matter what the sign of that is. So I'm going to add 36 to both sides of my equation. See that? So I added 36 to both sides. A common mistake is to forget to add to both sides, bless you. But you have to add to both sides, otherwise it's not going to work. It's my magic number here, half of b squared. So half of 12 is 6, and 6 squared is 36. Now, this is so cool. By doing all of these steps properly, what you have now created on the left-hand side is a perfect square trinomial. In other words, when you go to factor this side, what are the factors of 36 that add to be 12? 6 and 6. It's always going to be the same too. It's always going to be the same. Always, always, always. So instead of writing x plus 6 times x plus 6, can't I write it as x plus 6 squared? Right? So, and this will always happen. If you did everything right, this, whatever is here, will always factor into the same exact two factors. So instead of just writing them both, you just write it as that one squared. It will always happen that way. If it doesn't, something's wrong, so stop and go back. But it should always. Now, on the right-hand side, I literally just add 2 and 36, that's 38. Okay, so let's put that in words. So, once you have added 36 to both sides, you're going to factor the left side. It will always be the same two factors. So you're going to write it as whatever the factor is squared. And then on right side, you're just going to add the two numbers. And now, I don't know about you, but if I'm looking at where I'm at, does everybody have the steps down? Or did I go too fast? Well, take a look at, let me see if I can get both on here. Look at this last line I'm at. X plus 6 squared equals 38. Tell me that's not a question just like these that you did on your homework 2 days ago. Right? Isn't it just like this now? Yeah. So hopefully you know what to do. So now from here, I can just take the square root of both sides and get x by itself. So that's what I'm going to do. So now I'll square root both sides. Both sides. And solve. I'm going to put a star. Don't forget positive and negative roots. Don't forget plus minus. So, as long as you realize, oh, hey, yeah, we did this 2 days ago. I know how to go from here. Hopefully you do remember. So, if I go back over here, I'm going to square root both sides. So, what do I get on the left-hand side now? Just x plus 6, because squaring and square rooting just cancels itself out, right? Over here, square root of 38. This is where I have to stop and think. Does 38 have any perfect square factors? I don't think so. So I'm going to leave it. I just need to remember to put plus minus in front of it. And now I'm almost done. I just got to get x by itself, so all I have to do is minus 6. And remember how we do that? Stick it. Negative 6 plus minus square root of 38. And there you have it. Once you do a couple of them, you'll start to get the pattern, and then it's not so bad. Okay. Okay, let's try another one. How about, see if I can sneak this one in here. I'll do a different color. Okay, x squared minus 10x equals negative 21. So this time, looks like C is already on the other side. So step 1's already done for me. I don't have to worry about A not being 1 because it is, so that's good. So I'm already on step 3. I need to take half of B and square it. Don't say it out loud. Everybody just get what that number is in your head. Do you have that magic number in your head? Okay, tell me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, look at you go. You are correct. Half of negative 10 is negative 5, but negative 5 squared is 25. I don't really care about the sign at all. It's always going to be a positive, so I'm going to add 25 to both sides. So on the right-hand side, I'm just going to add negative 21 and 25 gets me a 4. On the left, there should be factors of 25 that add up to be negative 10. Yeah, it's negative 5 and negative 5, right? So I write it as x minus 5 squared. You follow? Now it's a problem just like you saw in your homework 2 or 3 days ago. Now where do you go from here? Square root both sides. So I get x minus 5. What do I get out over here? positive and negative 2. This one worked out nicely because we just happened to get a perfect square there. And then all I have to do is add the 5. So remember, you're going to stick it. Am I done? No, because this time you really can do that. You really can do 5 plus 2 and 5 minus 2. There's my 2 answers. By the way, here's a fun little tidbit. When it comes out nice, like when your numbers come out nice like this, that means you actually could have factored, but you just didn't notice. That's okay. It's nice to get the hang of these with easy ones that could have been factored, but. So, we have one in your homework. We might as well do a couple of those together so you have less. It's this one here. What is the title of this picture?
I thought we did that already.
It's this, well, it's the one with the pyramid looking thing.
Oh.
Or triangle thing. I don't know which one it is. Page 220, yes. Let's do maybe one of the harder ones together. 14 looks good. Now you'll notice on 14, okay, I have something over there. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna, let's rewrite this. Let me do it in green. So we've got y squared plus 30y minus 75 equals 100. So what do you think I do first? Yeah, I'm just going to add this 75 over here, okay? Because I want to make that gap there. So I have y squared plus 30y. Leave yourself a space, 175. Okay? Now I'm up to step 3, I believe, because a is 1. I don't have to worry. We're not going to have a not being 1. We'll deal with that Monday. Yeah, so I want half of b. So I want half of 30. And then I also need to square it. That's another common mistake. Kids will either take half of b and then just leave it, or they'll just square b before they took half. You have to do both. Half of b and then square it. 15. And 15 squared is 225. So that's what we're going to add to both sides, is 225. So 175 and 225 is what, 400? So I got 400 over here. Now over here, factors at 225 that add to be 30? 15 and 15. And it's the same two factors, and it always will be. So instead of writing y plus 15 times y plus 15, we just write y plus 15 squared. And then I just square root both sides. I get y plus 15. And is 400 a perfect square?
Yep.
Yeah. What does it come out to be?
Positive negative 20.
That's it. So it looks like we got lucky here. And then I just minus 15.
Negative 35 or 4. 5.
Yeah, so negative 15 plus 20 would get me 5. Negative 15 minus 20 would get me negative 35. So this thing will cross the x-axis in those two places.
So 14 is F.
14 is S. Want to try another one together? You pick.
13.
13, okay.
What do we have to do when A is not 1?
You have to divide everybody by A, but we'll deal with that Monday. So first thing I would do is minus 70 to the other side, right? Leave yourself a little space. That's going to be negative 100. Get the magic number in your head. Did you get it? What is it? 44. No, 144, sorry. 144. Half of b is 12, and 12 squared is 144. So we add 144 to both sides. So on the right, I had 44 in my head. I'm going to get a 44. On the left, what are factors of this? I have to be this.
Minus
-12,
-12.
-12, so I write x minus 12 squared. Okay, now we're cooking. What are you going to do now? Square root. 44 is not a perfect square, but
2 root 11.
right, it splits into the square root of 4 times the square root of 11, so that gets me positive and negative 2 root 11. Right, because the square root of 4 is just 2. Then I'm almost there. Add the 12, and you know you got to stick it. Am I done? Yes, you can't go any further than this. Don't try to do 12 plus 2 root 11. You can't. That's your answer. You are finished.
And it's T.
All right. So we have like 6 minutes left. Your homework is just to finish this page to 20.